Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rechak Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And I have a couple of articles here that I wanted to go into. As I was going through some of these, various different articles, recent ones, some interesting headlines here that stood out. Okay, and what you're starting to see more and more day by day is exactly what's written here in the book of Genesis, the 6th chapter, which I'm going to start off with, okay, as it will be the theme for this lesson. Now, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 11, and this is something along with, I think, Luke 17 and 26 that I've been thinking about a lot recently, because when you start to look around and see how things are playing out in the world, like on every front. Genesis 6 and 11, right? It says here, the earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. Okay, now, actually, I want to see here. There's one more. Let me see. Every imagination. There we go. Genesis 6 and 5. That's the one. Okay. So this is Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. And it reads, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth." Now, this is all the way back during the first world, right? Before the flood. "And that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." And this is what you start to see when you look around the world today, how people conduct themselves, the kind of, articles that come out, the kind of arrests that are happening, the kind of crimes that people are committing, and just generally the energy and the vibration that the world is carrying today. It's Genesis 6 and 5 all over again, which is why the scripture said that as in the days of Noah, right, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man, roughly paraphrasing. Because when you look around you, this is all you see. The level of now you have, it's like abnormally common for you to see, what is this called? Is it parricide? Oh, maybe it's the other one. Let me see. Parricide. Okay, so not parricide, but the reverse of that, where you parents killing their children. Okay, you have especially a lot of these so-called, I want to say so-called Israelites, because the way they're behaving, man. But anyway, you have these individuals, especially women nowadays, that are just killing their babies, for the most trivial situations. And not even just that. You have, you'll hear a story about this dude shot his girlfriend in the face because they got into an argument. Like, we're talking about, full draconian, right? They over small matters, people are taking drastic actions, ending other people's lives. Committing heinous crimes. Straight up. It's just violence. Okay. The world is filled with violence everywhere. All right. There's a great lack of purity, a great lack of sincerity in the world today in every facet. But then again, it makes sense because we are not post Jacob's trouble. We are pre Jacob's trouble. This is the setting before all hell breaks loose. So it makes sense, right? This is the setting before the judgment comes. So it only makes sense that this would be what's taking place, on the earth, right, prior to the judgment coming. It justifies the level of severity in which the Heavenly Father's punishment is going to be when he brings it upon the earth. Okay. So a few of these headlines here, I'm not really going to read too deep into it. I just want to highlight them and, just hit upon them real quick. So you have here, this was one that was interesting, right? The Weimar inflation revisited. And if you're not aware about the whole situation with the Weimar Republic, you should look it up. It's very interesting stuff, okay, about how they had that hyperinflation and so on and so forth. And then you had the next one here. Like I said, I'll try to link them, but maybe I'll post them in the comment section. YouTube is being very restrictive with that nowadays. So the next one here is increased tax rate makes California gas highest in US. Now, the thing about this is, like, let me read this first part right here, right? So it says drivers in California are paying the highest prices in the nation for gas this summer by nearly 6 cents after a higher gas tax went into effect earlier this month. So you may hear something like that and you may, oh, but 6 cents. Okay, that's when you go to the gas station and you find out that, and that's the same thing with inflation. When you see that, okay, the price of eggs has gone up by, 10%, 20%, where you used to pay this amount for eggs, you're paying this amount for eggs. You may not think of it as a high jump, but you start to see it when all of a sudden you buy 3-4 items and you're paying $70, $120. And you're like, wait. I bought water, deodorant, eggs, and sugar. Why am I paying $100? That's when you start to see it. Okay. And as we've been telling you, the society, at least here in America, it's not like your jobs are saying we're going to increase your pay because cost of living is going up. So that way we can balance it out. And what is this leading to? People are becoming more and more desperate. That's why crime rates, are going higher and higher. Theft is going higher and higher. And on top of this, people are getting laid off from their jobs. Okay. So, and I have the last article on here. I think that one, maybe we can go into that a bit because it's very interesting as it pertains to how things are only going to intensify from here on out. Okay. In all seriousness, everything that we've been warning you about is not a joke. And people are starting to look around and see what's going on. But I think one of the most interesting things to note is the fact that here in 2024, right, halfway through the year of 2024, you have the most absurd, completely 100% abnormal things going on in the world today. The world has done a complete 180-degree flip. Things are not normal. But the craziest part of it is the fact that people go about living their lives as though this is normal. As though old men and women, being without clothes, exposing themselves to little children, not in an accidental manner, but in a deliberate, orchestrated event is a normal thing, right? And the fact that people are actually trying to defend these things, having orgies in public, urinating on each other, like these events that are actually happening, people think this is normal. Your presidential debates sound like something off of Comedy Central. People think that is normal. They're making memes about your presidential debates. And you realize that, from the surface level, one of these guys is going to be the one who's telling you pretty much what to do, right? And people think it's normal. There are a lot of weird things happening in the world today that are not normal. Yeah. Like I said, these situations that are going on are definitely not normal. But the craziest part, and this goes back to the whole boiling frog method, these people are frogs that are being boiled alive. Okay? And because the heat is being turned up at a constant, steady pace, they keep adjusting to it without realizing that, 2 years ago, you were on low heat. Now you're being cooked on high heat. And you don't realize it. So things are only going to intensify from here till the point where actually even just leaving your house and stepping outside is a dangerous thing. To the point where the first responders, police officers are so overwhelmed. Some of them just start quitting in mass. They don't have enough, security. Now you have stores that are actually pairing up delivery drivers with armed guards to avoid robberies. Okay, if you put a compilation of all the things happening in the world today together, you'll see just how weird and abnormal these things are all around the block. But people wake up every day and they go to their 9 to 5, or they go do whatever they're going to do. Like, this is just a perfectly normal world, a perfectly normal society. And though it's changing constantly for the worse, to them it feels like it's just the same as it always been. There's something seriously wrong going on in the world. So, yeah, I'm not going to really read this article here. The point is, actually, maybe this part right here says the additional bump cuts California at the top, or puts California at the top of the list for the highest gas price in the United States, with an average price of $4.75 a gallon, July 15th. That's a lot. The national average was $1.25 less at $3.52 a gallon, according to the AAA, or the AAA. That's a lot of money you have to pay for gas. So you can see how systematically things are getting more and more difficult. And this is leading to a more desperate situation. Very, very soon, I mean, you're seeing it now, but you'll get a full picture as to why and how some of these visions that the prophets saw, how they came to be. Okay, you're seeing the cause that led to those effects. And very, very soon, you're going to be living in those effects. Just watch. And it'll be scary. It'll be painful. You're going to lose people that you know. And the worst part about it is, it's going to be happening on such a high level that your case is not going to be special. Oh, you lost your brother, last week. Well, guess what? The next person lost their cousin last week too. It's things that are going to be shocking to you are going to be so common because it's happening to everybody. You got evicted. Oh, guess what? Welcome to the club. You haven't eaten in 3 days. I haven't eaten in 4 days. Boo-hoo. And now people start to become very desperate. Moving on, the next one says here, Auto Insider warns more Americans fall behind on car payments as repos soar 23%. Once again, why is that? Because you're falling behind on car payments. Car payments are not the only payments you have to make. You have to pay for rent. You see, they're the things, the necessities, right? The things you need, your rent, they're this, you're that. Because if you don't pay those, then you don't have a place to stay. Right? I saw a video where you had this woman, right, where basically I guess she couldn't make rent. And so because of that, the landlord was coming to collect, but he was coming to collect other forms of payments. Basically he wanted to sleep with her and then he would just like waive her rent. So he comes up in there and she's like, oh, she did it maybe the last 2 times or something. She doesn't want to do that again. And he got mad. He said, you don't want to do that? You out. You gone. He's going to get her up out of there. But like, once again, going to show you that this is the desperation, the level people have now fallen to. So imagine, right? Because once upon a time, there was this whole push, right? The point where people realize that these so-called gender wars are really to work against you. The whole, I'm in my whatever, what do they call, hot girl summer. Once upon a time, there was a hot girl summer. Then they realized that it ain't so hot no more when you got to work all these jobs. You got to come home and do this. You got to do that. You got to do everything by yourself. When you're tired, when you're sick, it's all you. And then at that point, the hot girl summer is not so hot anymore. So you want to go to your soft girl era. But now that you're in your so-called soft girl era, everybody has already seen how you were as your hot girl summer and they don't want you. So now you're by yourself. Now there's talks. You got, this is actually more frequent. You have a lot of Israelite women, more specifically the so-called, the Southern Kingdom, right? So-called black women who are now saying or complaining. I just saw a video that the brother Yashalam put up, GMS Watchman, about how a lot of so-called black men don't want to marry black women, so-called black women. And now they're like, yo, interracial marriages are going up through the roof, but you being left by yourself. But once upon a time, that's what you wanted. Leave me alone. I don't want you, whatever. You ain't shit, nigga this, nigga that. And now you've been left alone and now you're crying. Because when things get difficult, you'll find out that a lot of the insignificant matters that people held in high regard are just that, insignificant. When your life is on the line, who gives a damn what the guy looks like? Can he protect you? You know? So things are getting hard. But these are little compared to what's really about to take place. These are, you know, what people are losing right now are the luxuries. I mean, it's touching the necessities, but it's just touching the necessities. It hasn't fully reached those yet. So people are losing the luxuries. And because of that, they're starting to see life differently. But what do you do when you start to lose the necessities? You have people in the world today that are changing their diets because not because they're dedicated and they want to be fit. No, because they can't afford the foods they used to eat before. So when you see something like this, that carb repos are soaring, when you see certain salaries where years ago, if people were making those salaries, they're like, yo, they're doing good. Today, they're barely making it. So if you are not even making something close to that, what are you doing? What's happening to you? Anyway, interesting. So it says here, let's see, it says the delayed day of reckoning has arrived for millions of Americans who purchased vehicles with absurdly high monthly payments they no longer can afford. And that's the thing. Like, times are hard, but the scriptures talk about wisdom is a defense. You know, I remember one time there was this guy mocking the Israelites and he was saying, oh, y'all just want to know shit. You know, what's so good about knowing shit? Like, ooh, well, guess what? When you know shit, you know how to live. You know what to avoid. You don't do stupid things like, oh, I got a sudden surge of money. This is not a steady income. This is just some lump sum I just so happen to get, whether it's by a stimulus check or whatever the case is. Let me just go and splurge. When you know shit, you know how to manage that, how to invest that, how to make sure that maybe I don't have a steady income, but I have this large sum. Let me see if I can convert this large sum into a steady income. You know? And so at the end of the day, like we just read here, you have all these people, you going, you know you can't afford it, but the car looks nice. Oh yeah, it's all fun and games for the first month. Then the payment comes up and you're what's going on here? Is styling and profiling and taking those Instagram pictures to put on social media. Oh, yo, you see this fire ass whip that my boy got, and is that really worth it? Well, now people are starting to pay the consequences, right? It says new data shows auto repossessions surged in the first half of the year, driven by inflated or slack it, elevated inflation and high interest rates, resulting in increased consumer distress. That's the thing. People don't even take the time to understand, what does it mean? What does inflation actually mean? How does high interest rates affect you? Because when you know that, you know, okay, maybe it's not a good idea right now to try and do this or try and do that. But people just keep doing the same thing they've always done, even though the conditions are now different, expecting the same results. But now you put yourself in the actual, in a bind, in a bad situation. Your money is worth less, and now you got to pay more for things, resulting in increased consumer distress as the labor market slows. Before we delve into the data from Cox Automotive, let's revisit several of our reports from mid-2022, showing how we've been diligently tracking the perfect storm brewing for auto repossessions. And this is just for cars. What about houses? What about evictions? When they came up with the whole moratorium thing, you couldn't get evicted. People thought that would be permanent. So you were getting free money. You didn't have to pay rent. And instead of thinking ahead, oh, I just live in the moment. Well, now we see where living in the moment has got you. July 2022. Are we headed for an auto loan crisis as delinquencies begin to rise? December 2022. Perfect storm arrives. Massive wave of car repossessions and loan defaults to trigger auto market disaster, cripple U.S. economy. And these are all these headlines. As you can see, it gets closer and closer and closer. Look at that. Jumping to 2024, February, garbage deals. Dealership puts customers in cars with $3,000 monthly payments. Bro, that is higher than the average rent. You you live in a house every day. This is where you sleep. You drive your car for a couple of hours when you need to go somewhere. You can pay for transportation, whether it's public or Uber or whatever. And you're paying more money for a car that you're only in for a couple of hours to just get you from point A to point B than the place where you actually stay. Like, you got to really sit down and think about this. Which one do you use more? Your car or your house? Your car or your apartment? Anyway, so moving on to the last one here. It says here, Quinn, they will do anything to win. So now you have here the deep state. This is a very interesting picture here, actually. Maybe I might try to use this as a thumbnail or something. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. This is by William J. Casey, CIA Director, 1981. Now, something like going back to the point I mentioned earlier, right? About how the world is not normal, and yet the craziest thing about it is everybody lives like it's normal. So if the world is abnormal and you think it's normal, then maybe you're abnormal too. Why is your CIA director, like, these are quotes from people that said these, right? They actually said these things. And when we come and tell you, hey, this is what they do, you think we're crazy. But they said, what do you think he meant when he said, we will know our disinformation program? Wait a minute. So there's a campaign out there saying how disinformation is bad, how disinformation is dangerous, how they need to censor the internet because of all this, that, and the third. And yet there's the government's CIA, right, director says that they have their own disinformation program. And they'll know it's complete when everything the American public believes is false. Wait a minute. So that's the goal? Interesting. The always mysterious question when trying to figure out what is happening in this insane world, yes, please, and why it is happening is, who are they? In the current chaotic atmosphere, they are in the process of throwing their senile, child-sniffing pet Trojan horse president overboard because his dementia-ridden brain has been laid bare for all the world to see. It isn't just the Democratic Party throwing him to the wolves. Look, at the end of the day, he's done his job. He was there, to do whatever his job is that he did. Right? He came up in there saying all these things, went and did the whole Afghan situation, and then people started to see, oh shit, all right, hold up, maybe, maybe he ain't it after all. You don't say. Now, if you could go back to 2020, and just watch some of these news clips, watch the propaganda, watch the push. Oh, we gotta get Trump out of here. We gotta get Trump out of here. Get Biden up in there. Trump gotta go. Oh, Trump is there. He said you gotta grab him by the, you know what I'm saying? He's in this. He's the worst guy out there. And they were like, literally, I mean, you couldn't escape the narrative of go and vote. I mean, I remember this very vividly. I remember this very, very vividly. Every YouTube ad or commercial was some celebrity jumping up on here saying, oh, go and vote. You got to go and vote. This is the most important vote of whatever. To get this guy, Biden in there. Oh, well, he's in there. And now this is the case, right? So he's done his job. Somebody that you disliked so much that damn near the whole world knew about this campaign to get Biden in there. Now everybody's crying for him to get back in there. And they just play you like Batman. They hit you from one side to the other, then they hit you from one side to the other, then they hit you from one side to the other. Then they hit you from one side to the other. Have you ever heard the term left wing? The far left, the far right, and then they use the term wing, right? What is a wing? If you think about wings, you think about a bird, right? Typically, we know birds that have like two wings on the right side and on the left side. Well, the right wing or the left wing, is it not on the same bird? So what are they really telling you when they talk about the left wing, the right wing, the far left, the far right? It's still the same bird. Whether you're flying on the right wing or the left wing, the bird is going the same way. If there's a bird going from New York to Jersey and you're on the right wing, you're going to Jersey. If you're on the left wing, you're going to Jersey. So the destination remains the same. You just might see it from a different perspective. You just might see the right side of the trip. It's comical, man. It's comical. Let me see. I'm trying to find some of the important parts because this is not a short article here. But I like how they got, The Creature from Jekyll Island. That's a very good book as well. You can find out about how they set up this whole Federal Reserve, the money system, and all of that, because they know that that's how they can control the world. Everybody uses money. Let me see. Let me jump down a bit, read this part right here. So it says the capture of our government, media, and financial system accelerated during the last century, as described by Edward Bernays in his 1928 book, Propaganda. Of course, he wrote this 15 years after the capture of our financial system with The Creature from Jekyll Island. And those that did the capturing are not idiots. They're not idiots. They knew the importance of getting the financial system, but that's not the only thing they got. They got the government through different agents and agentors. They got the media because that's how they get the people. What is the fastest way to get information to everybody? Media. Okay? That's the fastest way. And then they got the financial system. All the things that people are connected to, like the veins of people, the veins of countries. That is where they start to inject their poison into. Anyway, with The Creature from Jekyll Island, the Federal Reserve being created by a cabal of bankers and politicians intent on lining their pockets. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important, you hear that? Organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who, and we're not talking about a fairy tale here. We're talking about your life, like real life, what you're living right now. This is what we're talking about. Okay? This is what we're talking about. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed. Yeah, because now they were able to take things that are abominable and turn them into delicacies. Commercials about bacon and all these different things. Apparently, did you know that they use beaver anus as a coating for some of these like M&M candies and stuff? But it's a delicacy, right? See what I mean? Like this is, I mean, did you have to first off, how did you even get that? Like, where does it occur to somebody's mind? You of all animals, a beaver, and on top of that, of all body parts, a beaver's anus. What prompted somebody to think that there's something there, some secretion, some coating that would be perfect for candy? Like, why? And yet, this is done. Yo, this is truly hell on earth. Anyway, so it says here, our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result. And the reason people don't see it is because the fact that people don't see it is the very proof that it is happening. Your ideas are formed, are suggested by these people you've never heard of. And because of that, since they're the ones putting these ideas in your heads, they're the ones really thinking for you, you never really think to question who they are, because they're going to put the thoughts in your head not to think to question who they are, not to care. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind. That's a good book. I might need to take a look at that. So, I mean, you can sort of see, and this is written years ago, 1928. If this is what they were talking about in 1928, we're in 2024. How deep do you think these wires have permeated throughout the world? Anyway, this is a good article. Like I said, I'll link it in the description. But I want to see if I can come down a bit. Let's see. Just skimming through here real quick. Okay, here we go. We have less than 4 months until the election, these being the waning years of this fourth turning. You can look up what that is, the fourth turning. Whatever happens from here on out will only be intensified. There will be no unity. There will be no compromise. Fourth turnings do not wind down. They accelerate towards a bloody scenario, or, a bloody crescendo. Let's look that up. It says here, a gradual increase, especially in the loudness of music. Okay, so it's an analogy here. It just gets louder and louder and louder. It just gets, worse and worse and worse. With clear winners and losers. The potential for civil and global war rises on a daily basis. So, I mean, are we the crazy ones who are telling you things that are unrealistic? Because it seems to me like any article we read is telling you the same things we've been warning you about. Okay? The direction in which the world is headed is chaos, it's violence, it's bad. It's a time like never before, as the scriptures say. So people need to prepare, man. You need to prepare. You need to prepare. Let's see. Most of the ignorant, eye gadget distracted, narrative believing masses have no clue how close the world is to erupting into or in violent, no holds barred death and destruction. Wow. Put a garment on this man. So, what's something to keep in mind here is there's a quote, right, that said, if I can remember it correctly, probably going to butcher it a little bit, but it was something along the lines of good times make weak men. Let me just start to put that in there. Good times make soft men. Quote. Let's get that. Right. So hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Guess what? This fourth turning, this violence and death and destruction is going to be hard times. Going into hard times from good times, and good times create weak men. You're going into hard times with weak men. Virtually no one is alive who remembers the horrors of World War II. That is why fourth turnings reoccur every 80 years or so. We forget the past and are condemned to relive it. There are several scenarios that could play out. And then they go in here. Let's read some of this. Pretty interesting. The deep state may have provided Trump with a stark reminder about who really runs the show. Will he heed their warning? If so, they may let him win and then continue their control behind the scenes. letting him know they can take him out at any time of their choosing. Trump's cooperation in this scenario is possible, but after the last 8 years of unbridled attacks on him, this may be unlikely. They could try another assassination attempt, but the world is now aware of their hatred for Trump. Now, once again, this is all based on whatever perspective you're looking at it from, right? Now, what's interesting here is recently, this guy, Elon Musk, said he's going to move, I think, was it the Tesla headquarters or something from, was it Cali to Texas, if I'm not mistaken. And so things on the one hand could go in the sense that, okay, maybe we do have an election. Maybe Trump does win and he comes into office. And maybe he's the president and then whatever happens, happens. Maybe something happens and we don't have an election. Maybe something happens and it's just so chaotic that you now have two opposing sides. One side says Trump is our president. The other side says, no, we want Biden or we want some other Democrat. Or we won't adhere to that. The movie Civil War that came out recently, when you watch it, it's interesting because you had somebody in office that the people didn't want, and there was a divide. You had different forces fighting for different things, and their main goal was to go and eliminate this guy. So, it's just interesting how there was this foreshadowing, right, during the whole back and forth bit with Texas and the federal government about the border situation. You had a lot of red states that were saying, look, we're ready to send National Guard troops to help Texas against the federal government. So there's already this divide going on. Now, within the next 4 months, is there something or some things that can happen to exacerbate this? Remember, the goal is order out of chaos. But if there's no chaos, it's hard to really bring the order. So we'll see how this thing plays out, see what they have up their sleeve. But, just know that it's only going to get more intense from here. This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 16, verse 18. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, and this is the very point where we are at. The beginning of wars, and that includes civil wars, global wars, all of these. And the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. And that's the thing. The Lord is sending these things as warnings, but people are not turning from their wickedness. They're stuck in those wicked ways. So guess what's going to happen? Them not being mindful of the scourges, the evils are going to grow. And they're going to get caught up in it as a snare. And it is going to be bad. Man, is going to be bad. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Going back in history and go look at some of the most catastrophic events that took place, whether it was famines, diseases, wars, and, just read about how people suffered, how people cried out for help, the kind of hardships they went through, and yet nothing changed. Guess what? The Most High orchestrated all of that. So that can give you a glimpse into what, how scary the judgment of the Lord can be. Because when he brings it, until it accomplishes what he wants, he doesn't stop. Okay? Verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And the dead shall be cast out as dung. So seeing dead bodies on the ground will be commonplace, which people haven't experienced before. And when they see it, they're going to be in shock. But imagine that, bodies of people that you know. And there shall be no man to comfort them. Hear that? You're not going to have nobody here to, you can run into their arms and cry out and, it's going to be like you can barely catch a break everywhere you turn. That's what Amos 5:19, if I'm not mistaken. You turn here, there's danger. You run from there into another danger. You go and hide here, there's danger. You can't catch a break. You can't catch your breath. You're constantly running for your life. There's something going on here. And when you do catch a break, you're hungry as hell, but where are you going to get food? For the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. There shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it, because they're going to be dead. A lot of them are going to be gone, drafted, killed, murdered. So who's going to be the farmers? Who's going to be doing that work? You think food just spawns out of nowhere? The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? So this is sounding like a wasteland. The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men. Why is Ezra saying this? Because he must have seen a lot of death. Where you looking at cities and it's like, damn, nobody's here. You just got the trees growing through the buildings, growing through the concrete, and there's nobody there. Barely any people here. Like when you watch movies like I Am Legend or The Book of Eli, you barely see people. So that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. Perfect example is the book I Am Legend, to where he almost started going senile because he couldn't interact with people. There was nobody there but him. For of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks. And pretty much that's it for this lesson. Just wanted to highlight a few things here because, we're definitely approaching that fourth turning, if not already in it. And as we read here, things are only going to intensify from here. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachah Kodash. Till next time, Shalom.